So this week's a bit of a short and sweet one. It's something a little bit different that, as I said, I'm still learning about the product. I'm using it, well, I find myself using it more and more now, we're allowed. And definitely for me, that's been the 1 mil pellets. In that, so the first time we used them was probably at Barston Lakes when we did, when Jake sent me out with a handful of bait and we had to catch some fish. And from that point, it became very, very clear to me that they were perfect as, so firstly, a ground bait substitute when you're not allowed ground bait, or if you want something different from the norm. I mean, it's so nice to feel you're doing something different to what all the anglers are doing around you, which of course will make a difference on the day. But for me, it was using a pellet that was more suited for that type of fishing. I mean, a silverfish pellet, 2 mils, they don't look as big or very big when they're softened in your hand, but it's a lot of bait to feed for a few little mouths. And definitely, again, going back to my silverfish fishing throughout the winter, when I'm not fishing for big numbers of fish, using tiny, tiny pellets, which coincide with not being able to spoil them as well. The same, I can feed these into the water and they stay as pellets. Very similar to what I said about the 2 mils. But these ones, you find that it almost doesn't matter how much water you put on them. You could leave them for hours and hours and hours. They seem to swell up and stop, which of course, if you want to use them for a feeder and things like that, you can't let them go that far. But again, keeping them as a pole, the pole use, what I'd be using them for, definitely I can wet these as much as they want, and I know that when I feed them into my peg, they're going to stay as all individual pellets, which in turn does what I want them to do. I've spoken about that many, many times over the years, the importance of fishing pellets and still having the fish eat pellets. If they turn into a ground bait, turn into a mush, they're not doing what you want them to do. I said these have bridged that gap for me in between ground bait, feeding 2 mils. These are the ones that fit right in the middle, that I'm still feeding a pellet. They're wonderful for keeping all sorts of fish happy in my peg. And say above all else, they're doing something different to what everyone else is doing around me. So another one, well worth a little nose to make yourself stand out from the crowd.